I sat in that auditorium, hands trembling on my notepad, 3 weeks of research. Questions scribbled at 2 in the morning. Old interviews watched. Cosmic horror studied. I thought I was prepared for this conversation with arguably the most recognizable astrophysicist alive. Then Neil deGrasse Tyson walked in, and every carefully prepared question felt embarrassingly small. He shook my hand, firm grip, unhurried. He looked at me like he had all the time in the universe. His grip was firm, unhurried, deliberate. And I realized something profound in that moment. He wasn't looking at me like I was a journalist with questions to ask. He was looking at me like a fellow human, genuinely curious about the universe and our place within it. Like we were about to have a conversation that truly mattered. Like he had all the time in the cosmos, and he was choosing to spend it here with me. That subtle shift, from intimidation to genuine collaboration, changed everything about what came next. I started with what felt safe: human origins. Point blank, I asked him where we actually come from. He leaned forward, grinning like I'd asked his favorite question. Then he said something that rewired my brain. We are not just inhabitants of Earth, we are Earth. Every atom in our bodies was forged inside a dying star. The calcium in our bones, the iron in our blood, the oxygen in our lungs, all cooked inside stellar furnaces billions of years before our sun existed. Something cracked open in my chest when he said that. I'd heard "We are Stardust" 1,000 times on Instagram and posters, but hearing him explain the nuclear physics, watching his eyes light up like he was describing something sacred, that phrase stopped being poetic. It became terrifyingly literal. We are the universe looking at itself. That is not metaphor. That is chemistry. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, all of it forged in the hearts of dying stars billions of years ago. And in that moment, sitting across from him, I understood something that shifted everything. Every person who has ever lived, every person who will ever live, carries within them the atomic legacy of ancient stars. We are not separate from the cosmos. We are the cosmos become conscious of itself. We are literally how the universe knows itself, experiences itself, questions itself. And sitting there, I felt the weight of that truth, not as burden, but as belonging. We are made of stardust. We are the universe's way of wondering who it is. Then I pushed on evolution because I wanted to see how he handled the controversy. The pushback, the millions of people who genuinely reject it, and he didn't flinch. He didn't condescend either, which I deeply respected. He said evolution isn't a belief system any more than gravity is a belief system. The evidence, he explained, isn't just bones buried in the ground. It's written in our DNA. It's everywhere. He held up his hand. The genes governing my fingers, he said, are the same family that shaped fish fins 400 million years ago. I looked at my own hand differently. These fingers, that held my pen, that trembled on my notepad, carried the genetic architecture of Devonian creatures. We are not just related to other life on Earth. We are continuous with it. When I brought up space exploration and what it actually means for humanity's future, something shifted in his voice. It grew quieter, more urgent, more alive. He said we are at a genuinely critical crossroads, one humanity has never faced before in our entire history. We're confronting existential threats of a scale and kind we've never encountered. Not just climate change, but asteroid impacts, supervolcano events, the simple, terrifying statistical reality that extinction-level events happen on this planet with stunning regularity. And he said space isn't about planting flags or conquest, it's about survival. Becoming a multiplanetary species isn't ambition, it's insurance. Listening to him frame it that way, I felt something I can only describe as productive panic, because he wasn't being alarmist, he was being clear-eyed, honest. A species confined to a single planet is a species playing roulette with extinction. But a species spread across multiple worlds, that's a species with genuine options. That's a species with a future. Then came the moment I had been simultaneously dreading and desperate for. I gathered my courage, took a breath, and asked about aliens. And he laughed, not dismissively, but warmly, genuinely, like this was precisely the question he had been waiting for someone to ask with such sincere seriousness. His entire posture shifted. He leaned back in his chair, visibly delighted, ready to unpack something he'd clearly thought about deeply, wrestled with, maybe even dreamed about sharing. He said the universe contains more stars than grains of sand on every beach on every continent on Earth. And those stars host planets by the trillions, perhaps more. A significant portion of those planets exist in habitable zones, where liquid water might flow. And the building blocks of life itself, amino acids, organic molecules, the very chemistry of existence, have been discovered inside meteorites, floating through the vast deep space completely independent of Earth. He paused, then said, "To look at all of that evidence and conclude we are the only life in the universe would require an almost incomprehensible level of cosmic arrogance." And this is where it got fascinating. He made a crucial distinction I had never heard articulated this cleanly before. He separated the question of whether alien life exists somewhere out there from whether aliens have actually visited Earth. Those are completely different conversations, he insisted, requiring completely different standards of evidence. He said he takes UFO sightings seriously as a genuine phenomenon worthy of scientific investigation, because unexplained observations are not the same as supernatural claims. But he also said, and this stayed with me, extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. Blurry videos and anonymous testimonials don't clear that bar, regardless of how sincerely people believe them. He wasn't mocking believers. He was being scientifically honest, rigorously honest. Evidence for alien visitation would be the biggest discovery in human history. It deserves the strongest evidence we can muster, not the weakest. That's not skepticism. That's respect, deep respect, for how meaningful the claim actually is. Which brought me inevitably to Bigfoot. I almost apologized for asking, but he seized the question enthusiastically. He said Bigfoot is a perfect case study in how humans process evidence and desire. We crave mystery. We're wired for it evolutionarily. A fully explained world feels psychologically empty. Across thousands of sightings spanning decades and continents, he noted, not one verifiable biological sample has survived scientific scrutiny. No bones, no bodies, no hair traceable to a known species. He said absence of evidence, when you've actively searched with sophisticated tools, becomes evidence of absence. He said this with absolute clarity, no cruelty. Then he added something that stayed with me: the human brain loves mystery. We're evolutionarily wired for it, pattern recognition machines desperate to detect signals in noise. A fully explained world feels boring. We crave the unknown. That's not a flaw. That's where science comes from. We arrived at the moon landing, and I braced myself. I'd seen him demolish conspiracy theorists online. It could go either way. But here, just the two of us, his response was measured, almost philosophical. He said the conspiracy requires believing that hundreds of thousands of engineers, scientists, technicians, and even the Soviet Union, who had every geopolitical motivation to expose a fraud, all maintained a perfect secret for 50 years. He said the Soviets tracked every Apollo mission with their own equipment and never disputed the landings. He said laser reflectors sit on the lunar surface. Right now, any sufficiently equipped observatory can bounce a beam off them and measure the exact distance to the moon. He looked at me and said, "That's not faith. That's confirmation you can repeat in your backyard with the right tools." That distinction crystallized something I'd been struggling to articulate: the difference between faith and verifiable evidence. He told me near the end, almost as an afterthought, that the most important phrase in science isn't "Eureka, I found it." It's "That's funny, I wonder why." Every major discovery began with someone noticing something didn't fit, and instead of forcing it to fit, they followed the weirdness. He said truth simply is, it doesn't need our protection or belief. Our job, as curious creatures on this fragile spinning rock, is to stay humble enough to keep looking. I walked out of that building into the cold afternoon air, and I stood on the sidewalk for a long moment, just stood there, looking up at the sky. It was overcast, heavy with clouds. I couldn't see a single star, but I knew they were there, burning in the darkness above me, ancient and indifferent and utterly astonishing, scattered through a universe so impossibly large that our entire existence barely registers as a whisper in the cosmic silence. And somehow, because of that conversation, because of what I'd learned in that room, that felt like exactly enough. Not insignificant, but intimate. Small in scale, yes, but infinite in meaning. Humbling, true. That conversation wasn't about facts I didn't know. It was about how to hold them, how to sit with vastness without being crushed, how to find meaning because we're made of stardust, not despite it, how to let mystery inspire wonder instead of fear. Science doesn't eliminate questions. It asks better ones. Everyone who looks up and wonders what burns beyond the clouds joins something ancient and cosmic. We're here briefly to be curious, and that is everything.